Hey there, it's Kate, author of The Good Girl Prescription, Embodied Freedom and Life Empowerment Coach and Physical Therapist. And I wanted to jump on and talk to you guys today about what I see in so many women and something that I have had to learn to overcome and still struggle with from time to time. And that is this impaired right to need and receive. It's an attachment trauma response from early childhood where we maybe didn't feel like we were able to receive the care and attention, validation for our emotions, the safety that we needed relationally. And because of that, it allows us to become very attuned to others' needs, others' emotions, because that was the very need that we had longed to have met ourselves. And so we kind of makes this internal contract, always make sure others feel cared for, always make sure others feel seen, always make sure that we are doing whatever we can to ease their burden. And meanwhile, this younger part of ourselves that made that decision when she was probably 2 or 3 years old still hasn't had her needs met. And when we land in a place of vulnerability where all of a sudden we can't be the strong, supportive person to everyone else anymore, where we're not the one having the capacity to be leaned on, and we really need it for ourselves, whether we're sick or we have a health diagnosis or a scary health circumstance where, or mental, emotional, or physical, where we do not have the capacity, it can leave us in a really vulnerable place of insecurity, because it takes us back to those early experiences when those alarms first went off, when we felt overwhelmed in our own needs and didn't have somebody coming in to meet them. And so it's like it brings us back to that early place, and we wonder, why are we 45 years old and having this strong insecurity arise? And we start to feel like we're having an age regression or something, right? And what it is an opportunity to come back home to ourselves, to come back home to the parts of us that were never meant to take on that burden of responsibility for everyone else while neglecting her own needs. And so if you have that same feeling of vulnerability, like if you ask for what you need, if you take time for yourself that you might be taking away from someone else's need, or it feels really vulnerable to let yourself be in that position of receiving, you might be struggling with what I call good girl syndrome. So I'm just going to read a little section of the book for you. And if you haven't grabbed your copy and this resonates with you, then you might want to get yourself one. So this is in chapter 3, I believe, The Hidden Toll of the Good Girl, on page 31. It says, "We are all born with the right to need, to express our desires for connection, care, and support. But somewhere along the way, I learned to suppress that right, burying my needs so deeply that I couldn't even recognize them clearly. I wanted help, but didn't know how to ask for it. I thought my struggles were obvious, like I was waving a white flag, but it was invisible." Many good girls become so aware of others' facial expressions, tone of voice, and what's going on in their environment that if they perceive it's not safe to ask for what they need, they will shut down, go mum, or flee. That's what kept happening to me. We become so highly attuned to others to make sure what we're asking for is okay, that it's not going to put anyone out or be perceived as rude or selfish. If we get the impression that might happen, our inner coach blows the whistle to punt. We learn when it's safe to speak up and when to swallow our words. The more important the game is, the less risk we're willing to take. I guess the church was just a place where it felt necessary to play it safe. I was afraid of speaking up and standing up for my needs, for rest, to step back and take a break, and I let others' expectations of themselves be projected onto me. No one else was expressing their needs either. I didn't have anyone over me that was providing accountability or a healthy model. I was really trying hard to rely on God. I was in my Bible, diving deep into intimacy with Him, wrestling with Him, delighting in Him. He was, after all, the only one I could be radically honest with. He was my friend in the isolation and the only thing sustaining me, at least until I started getting resentful that He wasn't rescuing me. I don't think the problem was a lack of reliance on God, but a lack of trust in people. I didn't feel secure enough in articulating my needs to others. I didn't want to be selfish or a burden to them. I knew God could handle my needs, my anger, and my tears, but I wasn't so sure that they could. This is an attachment trauma response, one many good girls have. It's what compels us to get into helping professions. We see people's needs because they're the very ones we long to have met ourselves. When we can't express our needs, it often takes something valid to give us permission to step back. It took a serious health issue and the church's financial struggles to give me a way out. While others prayed for resources to stay afloat, I silently hoped for relief. When our church merged with another congregation, it felt like my escape, a chance to step away from the endless demands and expectations. For the first time in years, I sat in church without the weight of responsibility. And just weeks later, my doctor found the enlarged thyroid nodule. It was if my body, in its wisdom, knew I needed a valid reason. So if that resonates with you, this book is all about understanding the internal turmoil and conflicts going on in the good girl that puts on a smile and acts like she's fine, but inside she's silently struggling, breaking down, falling apart, but doesn't feel safe enough to tell anyone. And so that's who I wrote this book for, and it's a pathway back to freedom and transformation and healing. What's going on in your body, your relationships, to create more reciprocal relationships in your life, as well as beginning to uncover those buried desires and dreams and move forward towards them so you're living a life of fulfillment and creating plenty of time for your own needs. So if that resonates, I'm going to drop the link below and you can grab it. Would love to hear what came up for you as you were listening.